asking about you and your lovely day today. What
Yeah.
happened the other day? You said something happened and you had to go do some checking at the
Yeah.
hospital. Is it
Yes, yes.
something that you regularly do on regular basis?
No,
Because people know
it's
that you have
yes.
some degree in
Yes.
medicine.
Yes. No, 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 no. It's not related to me. It was for my uncle.
Uh-huh.
He did
Your ankle
yes,
or your uncle?
uncle.
Are you sure? Because there's a
Uncle, that's
difference.
part of my food, but it is ankle. By you, starting by
Well,
you,
it
not
makes
a.
it
Yes,
makes a big difference to an English
of
professor to
course.
know the
Of
difference, actually.
No, don't worry. I know the difference between them.
I'm pretty sure
So,
of that.
thank you. So, my
What
uncle,
happened?
yes, my uncle made a surgery at the end of 2019 for
At,
removing
uh-huh.
a tumor from the colon. So he had to do the endoscopy and colonoscopy beside the CT scan every 6 months just for checking up. So it was the date before 2 days, I think, to go to the hospital and doing that
Regular
investigate.
check. How
Yes.
about traffic? Do you face any traffic issues these days? What's your observation about
No,
what driving
fortunately.
around the city of Baghdad?
Oh, yes, but fortunately, it was a good traffic day because we went to the hospital too early morning and
Oh,
avoided the traffic jam. It was a good day.
well, when you say you avoided traffic jam, that the meaning is a little bit different from
Mhm.
saying, for example, didn't have we didn't face traffic jam. When we normally say we avoided traffic jam, it means that there was traffic. It's just implied that there is some sort of
Mhm.
traffic in the city, but we took shortcuts and we
Yes,
didn't
yes,
get ourselves stuck in traffic, and that's
yes. I
a
think you
little
are
bit
right.
mm,
You are right, Walid, because the location of the
mm,
hospital is so far from the crowded of the jam, especially when you are going to Bab al Muaddam or something like that from the early morning. You can find many thousands of cars because it is the location of many hospitals, many ministries. But the location of the hospital was at Al Mustansuriya district. So
no.
there is sorry.
Do you think that the city of Baghdad would be able to contain the escalating number of cars, the influx of importance, the influx of importing of cars every year, because the state is importing hundreds, if not thousands, of cars every year annually, and that is dramatically increasing the number of cars. So,
Yes, I
from your
absolutely.
point of view,
Mm,
what is the solution to this sort of problem? In case this might come as a question in
mhm,
IELTS where they ask you a general question in speaking, saying that you have 3 minutes
mhm.
to give us your observation about traffic in Baghdad and
Okay.
what kind of possible potential solutions that you have for this sort of issue.
Okay. First of all, I think that the number of cars are more than the normal one that can, and as we all know, that some of streets or bridges have been stopped or have been stopped to be used for the normal people. And I think the solution is by enforce the employees in the public sector to use the metro or the public traffic cars, of two layers. If you remember that there were two-layer bus in Baghdad in 18th. So if we reactivate that two layers bus again and enforce the employee to use it instead of use the private car for each single employee, we will get rid from the car jams. In addition, if we try, not meaning by we, me and you and the normal people, ordinary people, but if the government try to transfer the factories, the companies, the ministries, the colleges, the universities outside the center of Baghdad, it will aid or help to get rid of the car jams that happen every day. In addition to that, I think if the government start to think really by building or establishing a new bridge or a metro or something, a metro under the ground, like a tunnel or something like that, it will also help to get rid of that car jams. These are my solutions, or my point of view about the solutions for the crowded of cars in Baghdad. Yes.
But don't you think that there is some, well, I mean, I totally agree with what you said, and that's probably extend over a span of 5 to 10 years of execution of this sort of groundbreaking plan, since we're undergoing some sort of corruption issues and some other political complications. It's groundbreaking, not groundbreaking. I just dropped an N out there, if you see it in the chat. But there are some medical implications and repercussions. Do you know the word repercussions?
Repercussions.
Repercussions.
Yes.
It's repercussions.
Repercussions. Repercussions.
I want you to Google this word. I am intentionally adding a list of words that might not be familiar to you, but they are very common in academic setting, in academic context. And
Repercussions, Walid, it means the bad sequences, right?
that's the point, that there are certain medical repercussions of having people just go take the public transportations, because that's gonna increase the number of COVID casualties, the COVID cases there. And people are just trying their best actually in this circumstances just to avoid socialization and trying to be socially distant. So what's your comment on that?
We have in the medical field some word similar to that, which is precautions.
Precautions,
which is the warnings. It is the warnings from using some medicine or some medicine or some drug for some case. For example, this medicine.
I think you have a golden opportunity right now to incorporate as many medical words in the public sector of conversation than before. But you got to be very careful, because sometimes using the wrong word may just complicate the issue of communication, because the ultimate goal, the ultimate message of speaking is to help people understand what you're trying to say, to get to a consensus about a certain issue. Consensus.
Yes.
About a certain issue. So in case you use the word, for example, precautions, well, the word precautions and repercussions are completely different words.
Yes.
They're used in different contexts, but I totally respect the idea and the idea that there's an attempt to create some linkage out there, so you help your memory indirectly memorize this word and reproduce it in your conversations. And that's
That's what I
totally
try to. Yes.
that's totally a good thing, you know. So it's a good thing. Yeah. So coming back to the point that I mentioned here, I mentioned that people trying to distance themselves and stay away of
Of each other.
each other, and that might go against the idea of decreasing the number of cars that people are taking every day commuting to work, and that's the whole point. The whole point is that people are avoiding getting the virus by going by themselves, like me included. I used to go all my life, commute back and forth to work in public transportation, despite the fact that there are so many smokers in the cars that I get into some fight, verbal conversation, heavy conversation with them. And I mean, I just say, well, I just take a nap in the car, commuting back to work, back from work. But the point is that now I started using my own personal dad's car, because that's an alternative just to avoid getting the virus. So what is your comment on this issue? How do we deal with this issue? People are trying to avoid being in touch with other people.
I know, Waleed, that there are disadvantages by using the public transportation. One of these, maybe it is slower than the private car. Stop anywhere, not stopping at the stations, determined stations like in England or USA, for example. I know maybe you will be enforced to hear some conversations that you do not want to hear it. Maybe there is a crowded, someone has a flu or someone has some disease that you will not be able to withstand the virus transportation from his mouth or nose. I know, and of course, in this pandemic, under this pandemic crisis, the private transportation is more safer than the public transportation. But if we are talking about the normal situation, there is no any pandemic, there is no any virus transported in the environment or globally. When we are talking to solve the problem of the car jams in the capital, we have to use the public transportation, at least for the public employees. I'm not talking about all the people. I'm talking about the public employees, because they are the huge number of employees, more than the private sector. And each one at the first day of starting his job at the public, start to prepare himself to buy a car and going to his office by his new car. Something I think it be just like a prestige more than it is a way for transported from the house to the job. So if we enforce or offer a transportation for those public employees from their houses to their jobs, with a determined stations for stopping and saving the time, saving the benzene, saving the fuel,
Gasoline.
saving the gasoline, saving their money that they will spend on the gasoline. All these factors will do a beautiful and an interested action to go to take us outside this problem, outside this obstacle indirectly. But unfortunately, no one do anything for this problem. Each one insists to do the transportation for himself by himself. Unfortunately, wallahi.
But I mean, tell me about three major reasons that just make people not do or have people unaware of the idea? I'm sorry, I'm just rephrasing the question in the wrong way. Tell me about your three potential reasons or interpretations of why people are doing this.
Doing this, you mean using the private cars or private
Yes.
transportation? Oh,
Yes, sir.
number one, the privacy. They are looking for the privacy. Number two, it is a prestige. I think 80% of them looking for the prestige in front of the friends or maybe in front of the relatives, something like that.
Relatives.
Relatives. Number three, I think some of them, maybe I'm one of them, looking for saving time. I don't want to waste my time in a public transportation that is stopping 100 times between 2 points in the destination. And if there is an organization for the transportation, it has to stop 4 times in the determined stations. But if there is anyone want to get to catch the bus, the driver will stop, and everyone want to drop on, the driver will stop. This is not an organized process. You know what I mean? So those are my three reasons that make me, at least for the personal case, I'm using my private car.
Okay. What is your car?
My
What
car
kind of-
is KX Cerato.
Cerato. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, why did you
I
choose
like
this?
it.
Why did you use this kind of car?
Look, when you want to buy a car, you have to decide what you want. You want a luxury car, or you want a car that aid you to transport from a point to another one without tiring you. I'm choosing the second option. I'm looking for a car that aid me or help me in transportation when I want to buy a spare parts for it. It is cheaper than the spare parts of the luxury car. It is a small car. It is a fast car, and I like in general the Kia Motors company because I think it collects something of everything. The outer design is beautiful.
What do
The
you mean by collect something from everything?
It put one fruit from each tree in one basket, something like that.
Well, my question is more language related. It's more related to English because this is something we call transfer in English, where in case, well, you have a machine in your mind, and this machine has a mental dictionary. We call it lexicon, and lexicon is your mental words and their definitions. As an example, we talk about medicine. You have the word medicine in your mind. You have come through your life experience with this word. You have come across this word. And at some point in your life, and you have a definition of that word. And the interesting thing that the definition of these terms differ from one person to another based on their experience and based on their travel and based on their reading. And that's quite interesting thing because people from different cultures share different interpretations and feelings and perception of things differently. As an example, the word owl. We have the animal that the word represents, and we have the idea or the thought of this word. So we have three major things in our mind: the word, the object that represents the word, and the thought. So word are the letters that are combined in symmetrical way, just to form a meaningful interpretation or idea. The word owl, as an example, represents wisdom in English, but it represents misery, ta'asa, or bad omen.
Well,
طالع سيء.
it is the same of the name of the or kind of the bird, which is
I'm talking about
OWE.
Buma,
Yes, yes,
the owl.
yes. The same
OWL.
letters, the same letters.
It's OWL. That's the word in English. In Arabic, it's Buma. So it's this word is what I'm talking about. So the idea is that when you say the word medicine, just to rewind, when you say the word medicine, you have this word in your mind. My point that I want to highlight here is that when you said it collects something from everything, my comment is that this is your Arabic language mind producing English language.
Okay.
Because we haven't had enough chance to see all the patterns of the word collect and how it is used, and we haven't seen the word combine. Because
So, what is the right choice in this case? What I have to
well,
say?
it's not a matter of right or wrong. It's a matter of whether this is used in Arabic or not used in Arabic, and whether this is used in English and not used in English. As an example, we say احنا بالعربي نقول هي تجمع شيء من كل شيء. What you translated to subconsciously, it collects something from everything. Now, I need to highlight this to you and give you some tutorials here about that to get the idea. And in English, it's we normally say it combines something from everything. Combines. So the word combines and collects are used differently here, and what it can be suitable in certain contexts may not be suitable in all contexts. Now, this is something quite common in conversational English, and it's where people have not had enough chance to see the whole geography of English language and how certain expressions are used in different contexts and different ways. And it's quite interesting to touch upon that. This is something we call collocations. Like in Arabic, we say black and white.
So if combine used for
what's black and white in Arabic?
أبيض وأسود. أسود
Now
وأبيض.
you said the word أبيض, but I said black in the beginning.
أسود وأبيض نعم.
No, the word أسود وأبيض is not as musical as أبيض وأسود.
Yes, you're right.
When I said black and white, it's very, very common to say this in English, but it's not common to say white and black. We say
صح.
black and white. In English, in Arabic, we say أبيض وأسود. So we put the priority to أبيض and then to أسود. So there's this kind of interesting perception of colors in different cultures and different ways we say that. I really think that the way we say black and white is because in English there is some controversy and some racism against black people for ages. So
okay.
This is my own interpretation. This is not the true story. So they put black in the beginning because it just gives them more respect. Just like the way we say ladies first, it's some sort of honorary, presentation of more
to give the thing something of
respect and
importance.
venerance.
Yeah.
But in Arabic, I mean, we don't care. Everybody is equal, so we tend to use them interchangeably. But the more common one is أبيض وأسود. This is very common in English, and a lot of people actually have, like, at the advanced level. In your advanced level, you may start seeing that. Why do you see it? Because you speak a lot. You speak a lot of English. And because you're producing a lot of quantities of English, you start seeing new geography, new topography in language, and you start exploring things that other people in the intermediate and the beginners level don't see because they do not produce the same amount of quantity. It's like you're driving a car for longer mileage. Like those people who go from Baghdad to Babylon, they just see the geography of Iraq that spans between Baghdad and Babylon. They don't see Basra. But those who go to Basra, they see Basra as they see different geography of the same country because they went longer mileage.
So will that lead me to the question, if we use combine or combines to express about gathering something with each others?
Yes.
When we can use collect, and for what?
We don't use collect.
It is a word in English.
I'm trying to be diplomatic with you, Osama. This word is. I'm just catering for your feelings here.
I see that. I feel that.
We say like we can say it collects dust. يعني تجمع تراب مثلا.
Okay.
If you have a black car, it collects dust. بس ما نقدر نقول it combines.
So sometimes I hear they're using collection. It is a collection from some things.
Collection هذه تجميعة. But
maybe collections for some music folders. I think.
It means a variety of things, but it's used in a different context. It's very smart that you remembered how this word is used, but language is very strange. It's very weird. It doesn't have a shape. We almost never have an idea about the shape of language. You can describe it as a square, or as a circle, or as a rectangular, or as a trapezium. There's like hundreds of thousands of interpretations of what language is. And because of its weirdness, we try to see patterns. Those people who just introduced the topic of collocation, just like what I did, we see a pattern. Like we can't almost never determine the behavior of coronavirus. We cannot predict the behavior of language, and because the behavior is language is tied to behavior of people.
Sometimes the companies that I'm talking with or discuss with it, and asking them to gathering some documents for registration, for example, they told me that yes, we are going to collect the documents and send it to you. Okay. So can we use this for papers, documents?
Collect
emails?
is more formal. Gather is informal. Gathering implies that everything is scattered in very disorganized way. Like, let's gather our shoes. It's scattered everywhere. The word collect implies something symmetrical, organizational, and office related. Because the word collect, it means counting in orderly manner. So when we collect, we just combine things in orderly and organized manner. So it has more formal meaning. It has more official interpretation, because language can be formal and it can be informal.
So now, can I say that Kia Motors, it combines something
you
from
don't
everything?
You don't have to say it for shortness, because you said Kia Motors. So Kia Motors represents. When we talk about gasoline, Osama, when we talk about gasoline, we say the combined mileage of this car is 30 kilometers. So the combined, not the collected. It means The in city and on highway, they measure the mileage that the car spends by 1 gallon of gasoline or fuel. So they say the combined mileage. And this is where we use the word combined. The point I'm talking with you about it is just to raise your awareness, subconscious mind, that sometimes we need to slow down because the way we speak English is at the same speed of our speaking of Arabic. And because we speak at the same speed of Arabic, we tend to use the high speed gearbox of Arabic. And that is just going to make us drag some things from Arabic context and just put them in English context. So we just need to slow down one step to be able to realize that what we are saying, we should be aware and conscious, at least for the period of exam. I mean, generally speaking, I totally understand what you want to say, even if you're not using the right word. I mean, you can live your whole life in the United States without speaking English, and that's totally fine. You can go use labor work. You do any kind of work that does not require any verbal communication. I mean, let's think of the deaf. How do they work in there? How do they live in there? They don't. They never use language, and it's just language is about the meaning. And if you are able to convey the meaning,
science language.
But sometimes we just need to tell people, especially at the advanced level, that they went to Basra, they have seen different patterns of language, and just because they've seen that pattern, they just need to understand that it is used in this way, not the other way. And for example, we talked about the word combine and collect. So they are used differently. I remember the word collect. They use it in very different contexts. If I remember, I will definitely tell you. But it has like collect yourself, get yourself together. Oh yes, the point that I wanted to mention, that when we speak English, we have two channels of speaking. We have speaking and writing. Speaking can be formal and informal, and writing can be formal and informal. So we have 6 categories of language produced. Spoken, formal and informal, and written, formal and informal. And these 4, not 6, 4 channels of communication differ from one person to another, because language is modified by people. It's subject, it's a slave to people's behavior. And the way people use language is different from one person to another. However, because we try to introduce language to people who are getting trained, we just need to tell them that maybe it's not a case by case, but we see a pattern. Like we see a pattern, and this is the common pattern in English. And from this pattern, we can determine that the vast majority of people are using English in this way. Let's have an example here, because I want to discuss. When we talk about patterns, we choose the most common expressions that are considerably high in terms of frequency. Frequency, نسبة الاستخدام.
Yes.
So we have these expressions, and let's see. I'm not sure if you can see them, but they're not, just for example here. Do you see them in the chat?
Yes.
So we have, for example, make and keep. عندنا بالعربي يصنع الفرق. We say make a difference. Okay, هذه شخص محظوظ لأنه قريبات من بعض بالعربي وبالإنجليزي. يصنع الفرق ممكن make a difference. Keep a diary. Make a mess. يسوي فوضى. Keep a promise. احنا بالعربي نقول give a promise. يعطي وعد. But بالإنجليزي ما نقول give a promise. We say keep a keep a promise. For example, يسوي خطأ, make a mistake. بس بالعربي نقول do a mistake, لو نقول make a mistake.
Do mistake.
keep a secret. بدي تلاحظ هم عبارة عن دائرتين بس بيناتهم منطقة رمادية. أكو نقاط مشتركة وأكو نقاط تختلف. هنا يبذل جهد. إحنا بالإنجليزي نقول make an effort.
Make an effort.
Okay. Keep calm. We say calm down بالعربي مثلا اهدأ. ما نحتاج نستخدم keep. بالعربي نقول بس اهدأ. calm فعل أمر. يسوي أثاث مثلا make furniture. هذول كل شيء يدققون عليهم جماعة الآيلتس لأنه وجودهم كلام المتحدث يدل على أنه الليفل ما كلش عالي فيستحق.
Is there any standard to use it?
We are talking about patterns. Now you just need to think of with yourself. Did I hear this before? How do people say it?
So, make room. What's the meaning of make room?
سوي لي مجال خلي أقعد. فإحنا بالإنجليزي بالعربي شلون نقول؟ سوي لي مجال ممكن give me a space بس give me a space ما تفهم. إذا قلت give me a space you're just transferring from Arabic. So make room for me please, for example.
Make trouble.
يعني يسوي مشاكل بس الفكرة وين؟ هنا استخدام make. ده تلاحظ ف
So here we can use it for describing someone. If we say he makes a trouble.
Yes, of course. We say they say مشاكل. He makes troubles. So the idea is that since we are learning, English as a second language, we haven't heard this pattern from our parents, so we are not used to produce it. We have to memorize how that is said here, at least from this pattern. Now, this is the most common expressions that we do have in English. And you just need to مثلا يدفع غرامة. شلون نقول بالإنجليزي؟
Pay a fine.
Pay a fine. ينتبه, pay attention. Okay, فأنت تعرف pay attention لأنه أنت سامعها. Okay.
Yes.
عندك مثلا يعني يدخر الكهرباء, يحافظ على الكهرباء, فنقول save electricity. بس مو معناها ينقذ الكهرباء. to save energy.
Or save money, save time.
احنا يعني أنا ما أقول أبدا I married. نقول I got married مثلا.
I got married, yes.
أو I married her in 2003. بس ما أقدر أقول I married وأتوقف. بس أقدر أقول I got married وأتوقف. بدأت تلاحظ فأنت يعني intuitively طريقة بديهية ما راح من أقول لك I married وأتوقف أنت راح تنتظر. راح تقول okay married what. بس إذا أقول لك I got married كلش واضحة يعني ما يحتاج.
I remember always in movies I hear that catch the bus.
Catch the bus.
Which is not meaning يعني تمسك الباص ولكن تلحق الباص.
ممكن أيضا عندك مثلا يصاب بالزكام catch the flu. Catch the flu.
Or getting a flu.
Getting flu or catch the flu. I got flu. I caught the flu. I got the flu. مثلا احنا نقول I got angry ونسمعها get. شنو العلاقة بين get و angry؟ يعني هذا هو اللي احنا متعودين نسمعه. فهذا pattern. فاحنا نعتمد على pattern لأنه الأكثر استخدام. احنا ما راح نروح للقاموس ونستخدم كل اللي بالقاموس. We just use the most common. فهذه الليستة. This is what we are talking about. So when we are speaking to an IELTS examiner, for example, and come across lots of questions, very common questions, they just try to have you say this sort of things just to understand whether you know them, you know this pattern, or you don't know it. Now خلينا ناخذ. No, أنا عندي 3 things بالاستماتين. We talk about collocations here, and we already talked about that. 1 second, and we talked about collocations. There is a document that I want to send to you, if you don't mind, of course.
Of course, I don't.
This is topics from IELTS previous interviews. I want you to download it and just open it. And I want you just to open, not the beginning, go to page, it says sample part 2, whenever you see that.
Yes, it is, it's open now. And this is...
Scroll down to page 7.
Yes, this is 7, sample part 2, IELTS speaking topic cards.
Okay, now let's do an interview simulation. محاكاة مقابلة. محاكاة.
Yes. Yes.
Now, I do have the standards on which we assess your level of language in speaking IELTS. And you're going to be given 5 minutes to speak about the first topic and 1 minute to prepare your answers. So it says free time. Of course, the question is going to be very simple and straightforward, as you can see here. Describe your activity and you enjoy during the weekends, for example. But the idea, Osama, is not about the question. The idea is about what you say about the question. And no matter what your opinion, whether you hate, whether you like, whether you love, they're not going to judge you. They just need to understand what you're saying and just analyze what you say, and they give you an assessment, language assessment. So the question is, describe an activity you enjoy doing on the weekends. You should say what the activity is and what it involves, when you first started doing the activity, and whether you do the activity alone or with other people, and explain why you enjoy the activity. Remember something, Osama. Do you remember when we talked about writing? In writing, there is task completion. It's very important that you stick to these list of questions and not digress. Digress يعني تنزل على الترابي. Okay? Digress. You start talking about different things. So you just need to stick to the questions and elaboratively answer them. Cohesion and coherence. So it comes to speaking. So you need to produce some sequences that make some logic to the listeners. Adding the connectors like in addition,
besides, furthermore,
besides. And then there is grammatical range. Try to use as many formal and academic expressions as possible. So instead of saying the activity, you can say the vital activity, the splendid activity, the beautiful activity, the mesmerizing activity. You see, you just add adjectives to nouns. Write it down. Add adjectives to nouns, add adverbs to verbs. Add adjectives to noun when you speak, and add adverbs to verbs. When we say add adverbs to verbs, we instead of saying I run, راح تتحدث على free time on weekends, فبدل ما تقول له I run on the weekend, تقول له I actively run. هذا ly, actively run. You're describing the action here. It gives more picturesque sort of meaning to your language, and it's just going to make it more live, make it more active when you speak in that way. So you have 1 minute, and then you're going to be speaking for 5 minutes.
I have 1 minute to write down the keywords, right?
You don't have to write any keywords because we are just doing simulation, and it's just we're continuing talking, assuming that you are giving 1 minute. But now I'm just giving you 5 minutes to start talking in details about this topic.
Okay.
So start now. 5 minutes started.
Okay. I used to do a family lunch at the weekends and invited my brothers and their families to to have a lunch with me, and it is something inherited from my father in the past. And for preparing for that invitation, I have to do many things. One of these to go to the market the day before the invitation day and do shopping for the requirements of that invitation, like to buy fish or chicken or anything else, maybe to buy some fruits or some sweets. In the weekend noon time, I started to do some of the delicious dishes for that invitation and getting help from my family, wife and children. Started started for that lunch party when the visitors came to our house, started to speak with them before the lunch for something related to the life or the public situation, then to go to the lunch. First time that I started to doing this activity, I remember when I became a father and has a private family. Before that, I was a member of a big family, and my father was doing that activity. I'm not doing the preparation for that invitation alone. I'm getting the help, just I said, from my family, my wife and children. And sometimes when one of those visitors came early, he giving us his hand and help us by the preparation or the arrangement of that invitation. That's everything, Khalid.
You still have 2 minutes and 30 seconds. I
Mhm.
want you to elaborate more on whether you do the activity alone or with other people and explain why you enjoy this activity
Okay,
particularly. Uh,
okay.
remember we talked earlier in the beginning when we used to meet at the station. I said, even if you don't have three reasons or three purposes or three objectives, think
Mhm.
of three things. Like when I ask you this question, whether you do the activity alone or with other people, and explain why you enjoy the activity. Now, in
Mhm.
order to explain why, I would say, well, an interesting reason why I extremely love this activity.
Mhm.
أنا بدي أضيفها extremely love مو مثل I love the activity اللي هي كلش كليشيه.
Mhm.
There are three major reasons. I will tell you the first one, but the most interesting one is the third one. But let
Mhm.
me first tell you the number one.
Mhm.
هسه انت بدك تنتظرني حتى احكي ثالث بس كلش صار عندك engagement لانه
Mhm.
قلت لك the most interesting one is the third. فأنا خليتك بengagement انه you're expecting me to tell you number three.
Mhm.
But number one is for personal reason. I feel that the best opportunity to spend in your free time is with your family because seeing your family, seeing your dad and mom, or seeing any one of your friends is really uh, beautiful thing when it comes to family interaction. And
Mhm.
number two is for family purposes, and number three is for society purposes. But I'm just giving you the context here. But you can make it interesting if you decide to make it interesting. You just need to think of three ways.
Mhm.
That is
Mhm.
going to give you more flexibility with time. That's going to gain have that's going to make you gain a lot of time and a lot of attention from the interviewer.
I need to do more than one training on this on this template of speaking um, speaking task, Walid. I need more
Okay,
than one.
well, you have 14 pages, so we're gonna have enough time to do that. Don't worry
Okay.
about it, sir. School, 5 minutes. Describe a class you took that was very memorable. You should say, بس قبل لا تقول, you have to keep in mind the four major criteria for assessing your level. Task completion, Asama, cohesion and coherence, lexical diversity, and grammatical range and accuracy. You should say when you took the class, where you took the class, the subjects of the class, and explain why the class was so useful. Now, when you say why the class was so useful, even if you don't have in mind 3 reasons, you can think of 3 reasons and help your mind prepare that answer. You just give the order to your mind is going to find the 3 reasons, even if you don't have 3 reasons.
Okay, describe a class you took that was very memorable.
Time has started. 5 minutes. Go.
Okay. I think that one of the most memorable classes that I have took in my school was the history. I'm going to tell you why it is so memorable for 3 reasons. And I believe that the third reason will be so interested to you to hear, but I will start it with the first one. The first one was it was the gate that I entered to the history of my country, from the ancient civilizations to the current time. The second one, it was so interested to make me more educated about the land that I'm living in, the wars that this country took part in, the events, the global events that this country faced along this 4,000 years from the establishment of Iraq till today. The third one, it makes me more educated, or it expands my mind about the events that are going on in the current time, because I believe that the history is repeating itself. Some of the events that I have read about in the ancient time or in the ancient history, they are repeated nowadays by another features or another shapes. So I remember the first time that I studied history was at the intermediate school. I was in the first or second stage at that intermediate school, and the subject, the first subject of a class of history class was about the civilization in Iraq, which are Babylon, Sumerian, Akkadian, and Assyrian civilizations. The class of history was so interested and so important, and I'm trying nowadays to urge my children to read more about the history of Iraq in a special way, and about the history of all the world in general. That's all.
Quite interesting. I think that what you've done regarding your elaboration on the school is dramatically better than the first attempt that we did, and that's of course because you haven't been exposed to that before. The only comment that I have is the word interested and interesting. We normally say interesting when the thing is doing the action on somebody else. If you are the receiver of the action, you are the interested. So I'm interested because the music was interesting. So the influencer is the one with ing who's enforcing the effect on me.
So you mean I have to say that I'm interested with the
because
history?
you received the action from
Yes,
external factor.
but the history class itself is so interesting.
It was so interesting. Yes,
Okay.
definitely. And I was interested in the lesson because the lesson was interesting. Now, can we use it interchangeably? Yes, but the meaning is going to shift. I was interested in the professor. The professor seems very interesting. The professor was interested because the student was very interesting. Now, he
We're
was
just
interested.
changing, we are just changing the positions, but you said that the influence related with the interested, which is the
So
same.
there is a correlation between the influencer and the influenced. If you are influenced, it ends in ed, so you are influenced. Influenced ends in ed. Interested ends in ed. So if it ends in ed, that means you are influenced. انت متأثر بيه.
Yes.
He is influencing you because he has an ing power. He has more power.
So it is influencing or interesting.
Yes. You
Something
can
like that.
be in, you can be interesting person إذا أنت شخص مثير للاهتمام. You can be interested إذا أنت مهتم.
Yes, I see that. It's clear.
That's the point. On this point, we are going to end our meeting and finish.
I hear the alarm.
That's the 5 minutes alarm. That's the 5 minutes alarm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So in our next meeting, what we are going to do, I'm going to send you listening. I just want you to listen to it. It's
Please
for
do.
15 minutes. And we are going to finish this since you liked it for some
Okay, I
reason.
like it. Yes, I like it. I like it.
If you feel that there is some challenge in this kind of activity, and I truly believe that you should be exposed
Yes.
comprehensively to to this list of questions. These are questions that came in IELTS interviews, speaking interviews, and we just need to do some simulation because that's going to help you be conscious, aware of the expected questions that will show up in the test. And from your response for the 5 minutes, I will listen and determine where your weaknesses are, and then we bridge the gap of these weaknesses, and that's it.
So you allow me to write down a short paragraph for answering each one of these questions, or you want to?
This is not writing assignment, Sama.
I know,
It's just,
but I'm trying to prepare my answers, or you don't like that?
I believe in spontaneity, and
Okay.
I truly believe that no matter what kind of test environment you're going to go through, the kind of training that we are doing should be harsher, should be more difficult and challenging, so that you feel more flexible and relaxed in the interview. And for I don't think you need to think of 1 minute. If you want to write 3 things that you are going to talk about for each one of the questions, or just trigger that. Tell your mind that I'm going to focus on 3 things. These are the 3 things. I mean, you can write down while you are speaking with me, thinking of the answer. You can take 30 minutes instead of 1 minute, because 1 minute is a long time. It's going to be time wasted. And I prefer to have you speak in this 1 minute and spend more language, produce more language than being silent while you're writing something down.
It's clear. I see that.
Don't forget to finish the reading task that I sent you, because I truly believe that you need to take that and determine whether what level you are in terms of reading so far.
Okay.
And no matter what score you're going to get, I will walk you through the process of how we can compensate for the difficulty of the last questions in the tests, in the reading section, and where we can fix any challenges that you have.
Walid, sorry, but before you finished our meeting, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Because of the spreading of the new series or version of the pandemic, is there any virtual IELTS exam, or it is still in person?
There was 2 exam sessions this month in Baghdad.
Okay.
And I can send you the link to the IELTS British Council. I think you have it. And see the openings of the sessions in the upcoming month if you're interested in taking a session. It's going to cost $300 for the session and for the test. And I'm not sure when the next IELTS is going to be, but I can send you the link and you can have a look at it and see if you prefer that.
Okay.
Great. Thank you, Sama. And
Thank you.
inshallah, see you sometime this week.
Allah.
Bismillah.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
You're more than welcome, brother. Have a good one.
Thank you. Thank you, my friend. Thank you. Bye-bye.